Welcome to the Tomb of Horrors.
So when last we left our hapless fools, they had gotten to the treasure room and taken the big urn out, and then Freety, I don't know, maybe Freety is the plural, I don't know,
I think Freety is plural, yeah.
Had granted them 2 wishes, and then they gave up the 3rd wish because they were afraid it would attack them upon granting the 3rd wish, which it wouldn't have done, but that was a reasonable guess because everything in this dungeon is a jerk, and you really can't predict anything. But
welcome to Jerk Dungeon.
I wish for millions of riches. I interpret that as explode in your head. Thanks, Sir Iraq. Ha ha!
Otto! Odette!
Anyway,
I've become a bit more reserved now. Now that I have to think carefully about everything I say because of layers and layers of personality quirks.
They're starting to suspect the quirks, but
suspect. Odette is quite convinced, especially after what's been happening with Pulmonic.
Yes.
Anyway,
we'll
get to that. Yeah.
So, so I don't think anything really happened, but so then they went back into the treasure room to search through the treasure room.
So the remaining things were, I think the statues were still there at this time.
Yeah.
There were 2 coffers or a casket, chests,
like big chests, big iron chests.
And then there's the sarcophagus.
Yeah, and you guys were 11-foot poling the back of the sarcophagus or something?
Yeah, we put a mirror back there so we could see in through the hole that's in the back, and it was there's just scraps of cloth and bone and stuff like that. It's been looted and smashed.
Right.
But yeah, before we did anything else in this room, we keep looking at those horrible giant iron statues everywhere. And we're like, okay, those things, they're going to attack us somehow. It's super obvious. They're magical. They're giant iron statues. They're holding weapons.
There's no way.
Exactly. Those things are, they're probably, if we scratch the surface, it's like they're platinum statues or something. And it's this magic iron foil on the surface. Whatever. Doesn't matter. We don't want them.
Yeah.
So, but Odette has her belt back. So Odette has 29 strength. Jean-Claude has his belt. So he's got, 23 strength, I think is his. He's a stone giant strength or something like that.
Yeah, and
one of the lesser ones.
Yeah, and it specifically says there is actually a thing about moving them. I don't know how it is in the 1st edition, but in the 3rd edition or 5th edition version, it requires a combined strength of 48 to move them.
Well, Odette and Jean-Claude together have 50.
Yeah.
So we on either side of the statue, we pick it up and we carry each statue out into the room filled with pillars, and we lean them against the pillars so that they get the floaty effect.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go ballooning up to the ceiling like iron balloons.
Yeah.
And then they go bobbing along the ceiling because of the air currents. And we put them on the east side so they would go through to that fish fountain room that we don't intend to ever go into. We're never going in there because it's a stupid place and we know it's stupid. We're not going in there.
Right.
So, yeah.
Until you come to a dead end and you're like...
We methodically stopped skipping ahead. I know you've read this thing before. Anyway, whatever. So, yeah, we methodically carry each of the 4 statues up and we send it bobbing up to the ceiling. And even if they animate, they're just going to be bobbing at the ceiling like idiots.
There you go.
And they go through to the fish room. And then we're, hooray, we've defeated the 4 iron golems. I hope we get full XP for this.
In the original, it's 3 persons of 16 or better strength.
Okay. Well, we could have still done that. I think we probably... Actually, I don't know. Do we have someone of 16 strength?
John, I think you're still... You're somehow muted.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yep.
Okay.
I just wasn't talking.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you said yep, and then nothing came out.
Anyway, I think... Well, if nothing else, Odette has her giant chest back as well. So there's a block and tackle in there. So... that lets you quadruple your strength as far as lifting things is concerned. So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, glorious.
Whatever. We defeated them. We defeated them with our might.
Yes.
Yep.
You carried them away before they jumped into Something that would murderize you.
Right, and we sent them into the fish room, the stupid fish room.
They had some concern once they'd done this. Wait, what if you have to like touch them in a certain order to activate the next whatever?
Rotate them or draw faces.
Well, were any of them funnily colored? Like one's burnt Vienna and the others.
No, they did each have a different weapon. And was it glaive? No, Volge. Yeah. Volge is what we now know what a Volge is because it was in the.
Yeah, we and someone was like Volge. Oh yes, the Volge. That's what I always think a glaive is.
Yeah. So anyway, once we were done that, we went back into the room, which was now rendered harmless because the horrible iron golems are gone, and completely harmless. So Theophania then got out her thieves' tools and got to work on one of the chests. It was triple locked. It had 3 locks on it. And she rolled really good, and then almost really good. The third one, she actually managed to unlatch the lock, but she also triggered a poison needle. And that was some poison. That was a very, very impressive poison. She just like withered up into a horrifying.
Her veins popped out. And she just like and just lay there utterly rigid on the floor.
And then her clothes disappeared, which meant she was dead. So yes, so we're like.
Except her underwear. I just want to be clear.
Oh yes. It's the spell specifically duplicates new underwear.
Okay, yeah.
So just so your naked body isn't laying around.
If we can ever find like +5 underwear or something, we're gonna make bank.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, the rest of us are left standing there going, do we open the chest now? It's unlocked. I think we waited for Theophania to come back before we opened the chest. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Yeah, you ended up doing it. It seemed only fair that she should get to open the chest that she died to open.
She should get first dibs. So yeah, Anyway, we open it up, and it is filled with gems, super valuable gems. Like, oh, this is riches beyond belief. There's so much gems in there, we could afford a legendary magic items. Oh, rich. And the gems have a very faint magical aura to them. Oh, so we analyzed the heck out of them because we're like, oh, they probably turn into piranha or something. And yeah, John was going to say.
I just wanted to mention that when Theophania came back, she had grumbling that in the good old days, chests didn't have poison darts on them.
Yes, the good old days. These are the good old. This is first edition. Oh.
Yes, perfectly lethal poison darts.
The good old days were terrible.
Yes.
Anyway. So yeah, we analyzed the heck out of those gems, and eventually we found out that they're worthless quartz. Or not quite worthless, but almost worthless quartz that's been heavily enchanted to be like impenetrably disguised. And we're like, will this disguise last long enough to deposit this at the bank?
Yeah,
probably not.
It's interesting because of the way that you ended up figuring it out. That you couldn't actually answer that question, but I guess I can't really explain. I guess I can explain it here.
It's probably fine. As soon as we take him out of the dungeon.
So Polmanik tried to cast Identify on it, and it didn't work. And he assumed that was actually because of the gems, but it actually turns out to be a false assumption. It's because the entire treasure room is under an anti-magic field where no magic spells except detect magic work. And so that's why Identify didn't work. So then he took them out of that room and cast Dispel Magic on them. I don't know why he took it out of the room, but I think maybe to see if it disappeared or whatever, which worked and dispelled it back to worthless quartz. But if he had cast Identify on it there, he would have discovered the full details of the magical illusion that's upon them. But I can't give that yet because that might impact what they do.
But
I'm sure it's like as soon as you take it out of the dungeon, they all turn into like embarrassing photographs of you or something. Whatever.
It's like those tallest tower rides or like any of those. They always take photos of you.
Yeah.
And try to sell them back to you. That's what Asura is actually up to.
I was actually expecting you guys to either to potentially figure out that this was illusory, but also discover Well, I'll mention it here because
Yeah.
whatever. Brian can compartmentalize his brain.
I'm good at that.
They turn back to useless quartz once you're 13 miles from the Tomb of
Oh.
Horrors. I think the town that they're going back to is less than 13 miles away, so they probably could dump them all there. However, that's like Polmanic's hometown. I don't think they would get away with that very well long term.
Yeah.
But they probably could get away with it short term.
Yeah. Well, these are one-off characters, so.
Well, like what you could do potentially is like try and spread out the like if you try and dump all the gems at once, then you'll be found out. But if you pass them on slowly over time,
go to each small town within 13 miles of this place.
well, you probably want to spread it out over time as well, so that
Yeah.
people like have like, oh, I swear I had a cool gem. Someone must have stolen it, replaced it with stupid quartz, right?
And it keeps happening again and again and again.
Every couple years, there's some kind of mission. We should hire some adventurers to catch this thief.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, and speaking of which, actually, I remember what you did while you waited for Theophania to return.
Yeah.
Was you used the barbarian's tools on the other chest.
Yes.
Busted it
Crowbar
open.
and sledgehammer.
And it was full of platinum pieces, like a fortune in platinum pieces.
Mm-hmm. I don't believe it. I don't. They're. I'm sure they're probably like tin.
Electrum.
Yeah, it's electrum. It's all electrum.
They have the same magical aura on them as the gems, but I don't think that they ever actually like bothered to even.
No, we just like worthless crap.
In the original, it's even more unfair. It says that the gems always appear as if they're worth a lot, no matter how they are tested in the dungeon.
Yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't. Yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't specifically say that. If it had said that, I would have went with it. But it didn't have that. It had.
Yep.
They probably should have had that, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
The Surak has mellowed over the years.
Yeah.
And of course, Theophania was like, in the good old days, treasure was real. Didn't have these stupid illusions on it. So, yeah.
As you might have guessed, her quirk is that everything in the good old days was better, and she's going to tell us that at every opportunity now.
Yeah.
And the irony, of course.
Yeah.
So now, the last thing to do was to bust open the sarcophagus, which I think Jean-Claude did, and they could just see a better view of what they'd already seen from the broken end, which is just a bunch of bones already clearly been looted. There was like a staff of the Magi in there, but it was broken, so there's nothing useful. It's already been looted. So.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So the only places we knew of then, there were some doors back at the beginning that we hadn't gone through. Not the beginning. The room with the two tapestries that turned out to be slime and mold.
Well, at this point, you couldn't actually get back to those anyway.
Oh, that's right. We couldn't get back there. Right. So, yeah, we were kind of in a dead end with no known exits except for the stupid fish room, and we're never going there. It's full of iron golems.
Remind me why you were trapped in here? I don't remember.
There was an adamantine door that you could open by sticking 3 swords into it. You needed 3 people to open it. And then it just closed behind us.
Oh, was that the corridor with the pit that you all pointlessly fell in?
You're gonna have to really narrow it down a bit from that description. That's really.
Oh no, that was after that.
That applies everywhere.
The giant room with the pillars, the west entrance, it's labeled 24 on the map, which I think is the same as the old label.
Yeah.
It's an adamantine door and it closes automatically, and you can't get back. They do have a way out if they're desperate. They can go through the devil mouth and end up naked at the entrance.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, what we would do is we would strip naked first, and then jump through it.
Yeah.
And then we'd come back here because there's a clear route to here.
Yeah, it's true. And you could leave, the adamantine doors don't shut for like 30 seconds to a minute. So you could strip next to the adamantine doors, jump through the devil mouth, come back, open the doors, grab all your stuff, pull them out, and then you're good. But,
yeah. So yeah, there is a straightforward exit, but we don't just want to get out of here with our haul of useless quartz. We want to find the real tomb of Asurak, because I suspect this one is not it.
Yeah.
Even though the sarcophagus actually says Asurak on it, and it's probably a law against lying about that.
You gotta believe it, right?
Anyway, we do a whole lot of searching for secret doors, and we find one. I think that's the basic upshot of
Yeah,
how this
one of the
goes.
panels in the panel treasure room is a movable panel.
Yep.
And it leads to kind of a winding hallway. First, it goes west, then it goes north, then it becomes wide. It becomes like a very wide 20-foot hallway and goes south.
Yep.
And it ends in 2 double doors, but it's not like touching double doors. They're like
2 doors
how,
are like right next to each other.
yeah,
with
if there's like a
bar in
security
between,
door
yeah,
with a
it's
bar
like-
in the middle or whatever, like they don't. There's actually a little gap in between.
I really don't understand the point of the architecture of this. I'm sure there's some weird trick or trap that we've missed here, and maybe we'll go back to this place next
This
adventure.
is the secret door out of the treasure room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
The
there
secret
was,
door to the treasure room led to this
Yeah.
jigging
there was
hallway
like
or
a
whatever.
cool plug or
So yeah, so there's something about the split double hallway thing. We'll explain some of the details of the hallway in a moment. First, something happened that we have sworn never to tell anyone.
so obviously
but-
you divulge it here.
So, well, this is just between you and me, right? You're not gonna ever actually, release this to the public. And tell
Yeah,
it,
Yeah, this is
right?
never going to get posted on
Okay,
YouTube.
Good. No, this is make sure that this is
Never.
just between you and us.
Yours.
You and me. Okay. So yeah, we start messing with these doors. I think we'd opened one or something. We were looking through them and we were rolling bowling balls and stuff through. Long story.
Yeah, there was a lot of rolling of bowling balls. They got a cannonball that was at least as heavy as a halfling, because surely halflings would trigger these traps, and then they were rolling those down the hallways ahead of them for pit traps.
So about this time, we hear, was it just like the sound behind us, or
Yeah, it was just like a whoosh, and then
Whoosh.
they hear rack, 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 and hey, you guys, you give us. We're here to bring the crown scepter back to the throne room. Give us.
a couple of rocks appear out of nowhere, and they tell us it's their job to put the crown from the throne. That's the crown that we're going to slam onto Asururak's head and
Mhm.
dust him, make him into
Yeah.
fetid dust, foot dust. Anyway, yeah, they want it back so they can go and put it back on the throne. And yeah, so there's these rocks, and we consider fighting them, but maybe we don't want to fight them. Maybe they're tough. Maybe they could be. Maybe it's pointless. They're very stupid, as rocks do. So we talk with them a little bit about what exactly their orders are that they are required to do. And basically, it's just they have to take this crown and put it back, and the scepter, and put them back on that throne. So we're like, well, okay then. And we give them the crown and scepter. And they start walking down the hall. And we start walking along right behind them, thinking, okay, they'll go put it on the throne, and then we'll just take them again. Hooray, stupid Vrocks.
Well, that is basically what happens, because they teleport
Sort-
away.
Yeah, oh, right, that's right. They teleport away. As soon as we come up with this brilliant plan, they teleport away. Boom. We're like, oh, okay, well, whatever. We know where the throne is. So we go back down the corridor, through the treasure room, down the fancy stairs, to where the throne has risen back from the floor and sealed off the passageway, the secret passageway that we'd opened from the other side that we can't get to now because it's closed. And we're like, wow, we were outsmarted by a couple of rocks. We will never speak of this ever. But that's okay, because I outsmarted them with my muscles. Got out the good old portable battering ram, and Jean-Claude and I smashed that throne back down from the back.
I
So-
think you just smashed it to pieces, is what.
Yeah, we pulverized that thing, because screw you, throne.
Take that.
Screw you, every part of this dungeon. So yeah, we got the crown and scepter back and pulverized the throne. There's probably immeasurable archaeological value in all this stuff, but whatever.
Well, and I think they just enjoyed breaking more of a Surak stuff. But yeah, they grabbed it, walked back.
Yeah.
They get back to basically where they were, and then they hear, whoosh, rack, rack. Is you guys trying to bust our chops? We had to put this back again.
Amazing.
So, yep, here we are again with these guys. Now, we know their tricks. So, we know if we give them the thing, they'll just teleport back. So, we're not going to do that. But we're not quite at the point where we want to fight them yet. So, we decide to outsmart them back in return. Now, how did this go?
Well, I think first,
Jean-Claude was super drunk and offered them his booze or something.
so I think Farshim wanted to talk to them, because he's
right,
like,
yes.
they're Birdman, he's Birdman, so maybe they can like work something out. But he was terrible at it.
Yeah.
And then Jean-Claude, I think, tried to step in to like.
And Farshim has some backstory to this now as well. His character backstory. He's been here talking about how he's not here for treasure or for fame or for anything like that. He's here for revenge, and he wants to have revenge on the Surak. And we've never found out what it is he wants revenge for. He just that he's in a big hurry. He's
Right.
pushed through everything. And so, yeah, did he actually reveal it in character, or did he just mention?
Yeah,
this
I
to
think
us?
he did because he tried to talk to them, and it actually happened over a few things as we were playing it out. But we can just do it now because it's probably better to do as a chunk. He revealed that like his main revenge motive is Surak's forces or minions or whatever went out and like attacked a bunch of towns and killed off people from the towns, and they killed off his friends, and some of them were like dragged away. And he has this theory that maybe the Vrocks are like corrupted. I forget what his race is.
It's not. I keep thinking Kenku, but
bird people.
Arakokra.
Yeah.
And of course he rolls his R's.
Like,
I need to ask him what his race name is.
Yeah, and so I was like, whatever, this is a made-up setting. We can be however you want. So they kind of basically figured out that it wasn't actually right at this moment, but they figured out that, yeah, these actually very well could be like corrupted Korkra or whatever, corrupted birdmen, and these very well could be like some kind of corrupted versions of his people. But to fix it, you'd have to do some kind of remove curse thing, and there's no one in the party that can remove curses, so they don't really have anything they can really do. But he's like, well, at least we could put them out of their misery by killing them, I guess. But anyway, he tries to like talk to them, fails utterly. They are put off by what he's saying. So Jean-Claude tries to step in and like smooth things over. Drunkenly does really well, and he's like, hey, you guys want a drink of this? But before he does so, Polmanik spikes his drink with love potion so that so that the first person you see after drinking it, you're charmed by for an hour.
An hour, I think it was. It was an hour. Yeah.
So the first Vrock is like, okay, I'll take it, and the other one's like, no, it's mine. And they both take a big swig of this love potion spiked alcohol. And the first person they see is Jean-Claude, so they both immediately like become charmed by him, and they're like, they say, Jean-Claude, you're so amazing. Can I have your autograph? Because of course he always gives out his autograph. So and so he was like, oh, of course, I have some pre-made right here, and he gives them each his picture with an autograph on it, and they start following him around like loyal fans, which is just that's his that's just normal for him.
So they figure they can put off taking the crown and scepter back because now they get to hang out with Jean-Claude, and they're his biggest fans. So that's awesome.
Yeah, so they'll do it later. 2
Vrocks join the party.
Yeah.
This is the worst thing that's ever happened to us.
And
tomb.
Yeah, true. Polmanik is like, all right, well, make them walk in front. And I'm like, well, it has to be. They only care what Jean-Claude thinks, and so he's like, he looks conflicted. He looks guilty, but he's like, yeah, it's probably for the best. He definitely doesn't treat them well, but he feels bad about it at least, unlike Polmanik. So he makes them walk in front during the next part where they have to go through those doors. Yeah. And they open the door on the west, and it leads to a little 10 by 10 room. And they immediately check for
dart holes everywhere.
Holes in the wall. There's no holes. And there's a door on the other side. They quickly check the right side. It's the same thing, a little 10 by 10 room with a door on the other side. But they're not connected. It was double doors, but they lead to 2 different 10 by 10 rooms. And
it's basically like a 20-foot wide corridor that's been divided down the center with another wall.
I think they do use Megahane to open the doors, but the doors get opened and they send the Vrock down to the end of the west hallway. They get to the end, but as they are moving through, the doors automatically shut, and so they close on them. Yeah. So they can't see the Vrock, but then they just reopen the doors, no problem, they can see them. So they all proceed through into the little room immediately through the first door. And after a few seconds, the door shuts and disappears. So now they can't go back to where they just got to. And the Vrock opened the...
I think we were going down the east side, not the west side. based
Yes,
on
you're
my
right.
map.
You were going down the east side.
Yeah,
Yes.
just looking at my map, we were doing
Yep.
the east side.
Yeah,
So
they went down the east side, yes. And and so they send the Vrock through the last door, and it opens into a hallway going east. And so they proceed, and once they go through the second door, it closes and disappears. And finally, they go through that last door, and it closes and disappears. And I'll just skip to this part because we're thinking about it. Later, they try to like get back through that door, and they like bash it with the ram and smash it up, and it just chips up like rock. There's like no door there at all. They can't go back.
So it's like a one-way airlock or something like that, essentially.
Yeah. And now they've got, so this hallway proceeds east, and there's a door immediately west. And I forget, I think you went east first, right?
Yeah, we did. We didn't. We're like, okay, every time we're in a new place, explore it all before we open any doors and stuff.
No, I'm sure you opened the door first because you would have been wise to this problem first. You opened the door but didn't go far through it, because I remember, because you opened the door and the Vrock immediately fell through the illusory floor into a pit trap, but flew out, so it was fine. And it was weird because the illusory floor was covering a pit trap that had already been sprung. And that path led to a crossroads that went north and south and west. But they decided to instead take the hallway east first.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
so so we went east, and then the hallway turned south and ended at a wall of mist. And Odette
Silver
immediately
mist shot through with strands of gold.
And Odette immediately starts having a PTSD freak out because it's mist. her worst nemesis. Send a Vrock
Never done
into
anything
it.
good.
Send a Vrock in, find out what it does.
Yeah, that's actually what they did, didn't they? You guys sent in a Vrock. And so the Vrock goes in, and it's going in there. I forgot to mention, when Jean-Claude sent the Vrock ahead, like in the back before, the one is like, all right, I go. And the other one's like, no, I get to go first. Because they're fighting over who gets to go first, because that's the most impressive to Jean-Claude, because they're his biggest fans now. So they fight over who gets to go in, and one of them goes into the mist, and then he immediately just starts going, and he goes completely crazy, and then jumps on Jean-Claude's back and starts like defending him, like I don't know what, like he's protecting Jean-Claude in this like berserk way. Yeah. And they managed to calm him down and get him off him, but he just keeps circling around them, screaming Vrock, and he continues to do so for the foreseeable future.
Yes. The mist made this Vrock more annoying. So yeah, it turns out that it is stupefying mist, much like the stuff that got Odette that one time. It drops your intelligence and charisma to 1. So this Vrock has somehow managed to become stupider. It's an amazing accomplishment, but there we are. So yeah, just like that previous room, the mist. So we're like, well, the previous room, Gustav Wind was able to make a bubble. So Pulmonic, you want to go scout out with, who went with him? I don't think it was Odette.
I think it was, wasn't it?
It was? Maybe it was Odette. Yeah.
So yeah, they circumnavigate the room, and it's this natural cave, and they find this like grotto in the center with this little island that you can access from the north, and on it is this beautiful dead woman laying there who's been killed by a fiery sword.
Yeah, she's just been burned. Well, fiery sword and a fireball. She's just burned.
Yeah.
Charred up, beautiful woman. Who's clearly a witch in disguise.
Who would have done such a thing?
Yeah, and so we're like, wow, it's exactly like that. Yeah, and it is. So
you've double backed.
Yeah, we overlay the maps, and actually, I almost got it in my hand-drawn map. It almost overlays. It's quite remarkable. It's a little bit offset.
Hand-drawn map handy?
I could share. Let me see. I'll try sharing the screen.
Because usually I like reveal the map bit by bit using a tool, but we thought since it's old school, we should make them draw their own map. And then also the map, it has like secrets printed on the map, so it's not actually really appropriate to show to the players.
So anyway,
I like the drawn thing because it gives you like a bunch of errors, right?
Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, this area here that I'm just circling on the screen with my pointer is this area here.
Yeah.
So they almost lined up.
Yeah, you were pretty close.
Yeah. It just the lengths of the hallways were slightly off.
Yeah.
So it wound up in slightly the wrong place. Anyway, so screw this dungeon. All right, which means there are only 2 known doors that we haven't explored. There's the one in the sword and shield room in the pillar room that leads to the stupid fish fountain room.
Yep.
With all the iron golems floating on the ceiling. And then there was a door that we didn't try back in the tapestry room. It was behind the tapestry that turned into brown mold.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
For the crossroads, yeah.
So we decide we're never going in the fish room. We've sworn this. So let's go back to the tapestry room and try that door. And so we go there, and Theophania checks the door for traps, and I believe she discovers it's got one of those spear traps that shoots the door.
Yeah, it's one of those fake doors that shoots a spear at you.
It's a fake door with a spear trap. So, yeah, we trigger the spear trap harmlessly, and then Odette goes to town with the battering ram because we've had secret doors behind fake doors before. But no, it's just a fake door. I rip it off the wall and throw it against the far wall just to be on the safe side. Nope. I mean, there actually is a secret door exactly on the far side of the wall, so I didn't need to. That's how I would have ordinarily opened that secret door, is by throwing the concealed door at it.
There was actually one other door we've forgotten to mention. That is the one at the north end of the hallway.
Oh, right. Yes, that's right. I forgot. It's just...
Yeah. So
Right.
at the crossroads, there was a secret door. That was where there was a secret door behind a fake door.
Right.
And then they immediately found on the floor a trapdoor leading to a spiral staircase down, which they took. They did not go to the end of that hallway and take the door on the right to whatever lay beyond that.
Right.
So they did do that too.
Yeah. In fact, we may have done that first.
I think we did. You did it first, but it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter because the other one was just a concealed door that went fake door that went nowhere. So, yeah.
Another dead end.
Oh no! She's talking about the one we just talked about was a pointless.
The one we just talked about, it was pointless, so it doesn't connect to anything. It could happen now or later.
Right.
The one down at the end of the hallway. We went down there.
Sending the Vrocks first, of course.
Of course, and there were no pit traps or anything. So we opened the door and we had a look down the hallway. And how did we detect that there was...
It just immediately... Well, what happened was everyone made their save,
right.
and Pulmonic had been readied, I think, with Gustav Wind or something, and so I gave him a chance at an intelligence check to detect the fact that an odorless, invisible gas was seeping through as soon as they opened the doors, and he succeeded. So everyone made their con save, and he succeeded, and quickly Gustav winded up, and so no one was affected by the sleeping gas that came pouring out from opening the doors further. So there was the door led into a little hallway, and then double doors. They opened those double doors, and sleeping gas came out. So they quickly retreated, and then because I think he could just Gustav wind it.
He can Gustav wind at will.
They were debating about what to do.
I think his wizard staff lets him Gustav wind at will or something.
I think that was like some special ability he took that turns it into a cantrip or something.
Yeah.
You might be right. It might be a staff. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Anyway, I think everyone left the hallway to avoid the sleeping gas, and I don't remember if it was this time or another time, but I think he and Theophania went on an expedition further in a Gustav wind bubble. And so they went up the hallway that led north and opened some more double doors, and it led into a room with a stone juggernaut, which
a picture of.
The text describes it as like a stone steamroller. The picture is it's carved like an elephant statue. And as soon as they open those doors, it activates and starts slowly rolling forward.
Which would have been really nasty if we were asleep.
Yeah.
Yes. It says, this thing rolls out, and any sleeping characters are crushed. There is no appeal.
That is what it says in the original as well.
Yeah. So, but it comes rolling out, and I was like looking at its size, and I'm like, okay, well, it comes to the corner, and it makes like a 7-point turn, and then keeps rolling forward down the hallway, and then makes another 7-point turn, and they're just backing up, whatever. And
because our mommy taught us good.
Yeah, and so and it just they leave the room, and it stops when it gets to the single door because it can't go through that. And they hear it slowly rolling back and making a 7-point turn, slowly rolling back. So
yep.
But so they're like, okay, well that's pointless. But now we have to search the room it was in. What if there's secret doors in there?
Right.
So they go on another expedition.
And I think it's the same people again. It's Pulmonic and Theophania.
And they activate it, and I think they wait for it to come all the way there, And then when it's heading the other way, because then it's safer, they climb it. They jump onto it and climb it, which is super easy. And I told them it would be easy, but if they fail, they're going to get crushed, right? But they wait for it to be rolling the opposite way so they can just climb onto it. And then they jump off on the other side and run ahead of it to the room it came out of.
Yeah.
And they search the room, don't find anything.
Shannon rolled terribly, if I recall correctly.
Yes, she rolled terribly.
So there may be secret doors and stuff in that room, but we don't know.
Selected to bring the true secret door detector, Odette.
Well, I don't know if I'd had time to smash all of the walls.
Yeah.
Maybe if Polmanik had thrown on his robe of eyes or something. But anyway, she did a terrible roll, and it was so terrible that she thought it was great. And she was like, yeah, there's no secret doors or anything here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, by this time, they searched as long as they could until the stone juggernaut was re-entering its room, and now they had to get out of there because it's going to crush them. So I'm like, okay, this is super easy. It's just a DC 10 check, and Theophania the rogue rolls a 9, and then Polmanik rolls like a critical failure. So I was like, okay, Theophania, you grab on, and your foot catches on the thing, and you're about to catch your balance, and then Polmanik falls and grabs you and pulls you both under, and there is no appeal.
Yep.
So yeah, they were both crushed by the stone juggernaut.
Well, I mean, there could be an appeal if you went back into that room and peeled their corpses off the floor, but
Yeah. So
2 deaths from DC 10 failed DC 10 dex checks to climb over a slow steamroller that they totally knew was coming and had planned for. It's like, yep, there's a steamroller coming.
yeah.
Over, it'll be super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Nope. 2 down. Blam, blam. All right. Well,
What psychoses did they respawn with?
well, when they returned, I don't know if Shannon has really shown this, but she was chewing on something. That's probably all you would have. I don't know if she even mentioned that.
yeah,
But Polmanik was a lot more noticeable. It was immediately noticeable that something was very wrong with his left hand. And when they got closer, it's clear that instead of his normal hand, he has dozens of tiny fingers. It's in fact 367 tiny fingers to be precise, like these little tiny string fingers. And they take up the same volume as a normal hand of fingers, but it's just 367 of them.
Apparently, we counted.
I know I just told you, but
Yeah.
you don't. Yeah. So
Polmanik probably counted on his fingers.
Yeah.
so something is definitely going wrong with that clone spell now.
Yeah. Odette has been like very adamant at this point. There's something wrong with that clone spell.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to die again. She's now started referring to herself as Odette Wilhelm the Fifth
Yeah.
because she figures that she's a unique individual.
Right.
Because all those other ones were different.
Did we establish whether she thinks she's a she or she still realizes internally that
she's like, this is a philosophically complicated situation. So let's just not die first.
Yeah.
And do the philosophizing later. I'm a barbarian, for crying out loud.
Right. There's walls to hit with battering rams.
Yeah, that's straightforward. So yeah, and it was about this time that it was nearly an hour since we had charmed the Vrock. And we realized that it was about an hour. And so it was time to part ways with them in a permanent manner.
Yeah. Now, at first, Farshim tried to get them to come back and be their old selves, but it didn't work, and we didn't have the right spells, so he was fine with just putting them out of their misery. That's better than this tortured existence.
So
Polmanik forms this plan where they tell them to go into the corridor that's full of sleep gas, and then
we'll just gently put them to sleep. It'll be nice
and then
painless.
Yeah.
And then he turns. Oh, right. He's pushing the sleep gas away, and then he's going to release that and just protect him and Jean-Claude or something. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
I guess that's how it was.
Something like that.
So they go in there, and they're super excited to be with Jean-Claude, their hero. And
they keep talking about how much they admire him and how wonderful.
And Polmanik had to talk him into it because he's like I don't know. I don't really feel good about this. I mean, I've never killed my fans before. Well, I mean, unless you count that one time, but that was so many of them at once, and it was totally by accident.
Yeah. It's a very
But,
different situation, whatever it was.
But he talks him into it. He clearly feels a little bit guilty about it, but he goes along with it. Brings him in there, and yeah, sure enough, they drop the thing. They both fail their save. They both fall asleep. But one of them, as they're drifting off, suddenly realizes, I guess it's not the one that's been going the whole time.
Yeah, the one down.
Which is also worth mentioning. I kept occasionally reminding them that guy is just been screaming Vrock the entire time.
It made
So
this
it really
decision
didn't put them in a
little
mood
bit
to care about them.
Yeah.
It made this decision a little bit easier, I have to admit.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, the one that wasn't screaming Vrock suddenly realized what's happening, and he just looks up with these horrified eyes that are full of betrayal, and he just pulls out the signed autograph that Jean-Claude had given him, tears it in half before he passes out on the floor.
Yeah. And then the juggernaut.
Then they trigger the juggernaut, and it comes along, and
there was no appeal.
No appeal. Presumably the autograph picture remains, and it's got like a smudge of blood on it now. And
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the Vrock. Perhaps a new set will show up at some point to try and get the crown again, or I don't know, whatever. It's we got we still have that stupid crown.
But now your destiny is clear.
Well, yes.
Is
so
it?
there's
There's
only one
left.
room they haven't explored.
The stupid fish room.
Yeah, the room they swore they would never go into because it was pointless. The room they've been dumping everything they didn't want to fight into.
All the most horrible horrors are in there. We'll probably go in there, and there'll be Vrock in there as well, and I don't know, whatever.
So they make their way back to the pillar room using the 3 swords and the adamantine and getting through. And
sticking a piton in the floor to try and wedge the door open, and it doesn't work, of course. It's mighty, but it does.
It delayed it, yeah.
Yeah, and it chips the floor, so we figured that gaseous forme, or whatever it was, that would possibly be able to get through there now because we've chipped the floor.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's for later. Now we've got this stupid fish room to deal with.
Right.
But before we can get into that room, there's the room with all the swords on the walls. There's 6, 7, 8, 8 swords, eight pairs of swords and 8 shields, each with a pair of swords.
That's right.
Yes, on the walls. And we're like, okay, we totally know the trope here.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we step in this room, those swords are going to animate off the wall. They'll try and kill us, and the shields will probably animate off the wall and like be really annoying. Like, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. Farshim, of course, is, come on, let's just go through there. That's enough of this dilly-dallying. And we're like, no, we're going to do this, methodically and properly. And so we take a rope and we make a little slipknot loop noose thing on the end. And then Polmanik uses Magahande to bring this end of the rope into the room and loop it up over the handle of one of the swords. And then Odette pulls the sword. And of course, as soon as she pulls it off the wall, it starts trying to pull back onto the wall because it is animated. Right. But Odette is mighty, and so she pulls the sword out of the room, grabs the handle and holds onto it.
Right.
And holds it so that Polmanik can do a whole lot of analysis.
Right.
And he basically is like, yep, it's an animated sword that'll try and kill you. Mm-hmm. And so Odette's like, all right then, and smashes it until it's busted. And then we take the loop of rope and we feed it with the Magahande in to get the next one. At which point Farshim is like, screw all of this, I'm going through.
Yeah.
And we're like, we have the perfect approach. We can just methodically,
Yeah. And they know, they had determined from the identify that it doesn't activate till you cross the threshold of the room, so they could just do that. And I think they had actually even done a few of them before he lost his patience and went through. Yeah. But fortunately, only one set animated and attacked him. And just because of like luck or whatever, he just walked through the room. It completely ignored them. One set comes down, it's like swinging at him, miss. He just opens the door and goes to the next room, and it just goes back onto the wall.
And so we all just sort of look at each other, And then we thread the rope in with the maga hande. We resume our methodical pull the handle out and smash it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Is this impatience an original Farshian trait or one of the dead?
It's an original because he just wants revenge, and he's like, he's not here for treasure. He doesn't want to explore. He just wants to get to a Surak and kill him.
yep.
Right.
So he goes into the room with the fish fountain and 5 iron statues bobbing on the
there's only
ceiling.
4.
4 iron statues bobbing on the ceiling. And he reads, and as he enters, the glowing letters magically appear on the north wall that say, "You who dared to violate my tomb, now pay the price. Stay here and die slowly of starvation, or open and enter the door to the south, where certain but quick death awaits. Whichever you choose, know that I, Asurak the Eternal, watch and scoff at your puny efforts and enjoy your death.
So this
And-
would probably have been a lot more intimidating if we had like teleported in here through the double mouth and didn't know what was on the far side and all that sort of stuff. So,
yeah. And you hadn't just spent like 30 minutes disabling each one
methodically
So
hauling the sword out, grabbing it, beating against the floor until it's dead.
So he looks around this room, and there's a bunch of tiny drain holes everywhere. And I don't know if they actually figured this out, but the point of the drain holes is so that you can't drown yourself in this room, I guess. They thought it was some kind of trap that would, like, the thing would fill with water. But the point is, this room always gives you enough water, so you never die of thirst. You die of starvation instead, because it takes longer.
Surak put anti-suicide mechanisms into his dungeon. Wonderful.
Yeah. And so, but they assume it's some kind of trap, or that some of them might lead to secret doors. So he searches quite thoroughly, which is actually good because that takes a long time, and that gave the other people enough time to disable all the swords. They hadn't got to the shields yet, but they disabled the swords. Right. Anyway, all he found was some gems, and he found a potion of diminution that makes you small, but like only by one size category, so not like a bug or something, right? So he's like, okay, whatever, this is useless. So he comes back out, and it turns out that when you leave that room, instead of one thing activating, they all activate to kill you at once. But all the swords have been deactivated, and the shields don't attack. They just interpose themselves and take attacks that were meant for the swords. But there's no swords. So they all just interpose themselves in front of him. So he had to basically like make a strength check to like push through and wade through all these shields. And he finally comes out of the room, and they all go back onto the walls. And he's like, there's nothing useful in there. But they know that he's not much of a searcher, so they all want to find out for themselves. So they methodically pull all the shields and destroy them too.
Yep.
And then go into the stupid fish room.
Yeah.
And
Jack didn't need to methodically pull the shields. You could have just smashed them.
I wanted to methodically pull the shields.
Actually, maybe they did just go in there and smash them. I don't know if they methodically pulled them.
We did destroy
Doesn't really
them,
matter.
though. We did destroy them. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
So they got into the fish room, and there's all these little holes, and they think there's some kind of trap, but they can't find it. And finally, they have no other leads. They don't know where anything else is. So they decide to search thoroughly for secret doors, and they realize that these drain holes do lead somewhere. So they decide, okay, well, we got to find out where they go. So Holmanek can cast gaseous form and gaseous form. And I don't exactly remember why this was chosen, but Jean-Claude is the one who volunteers to become gaseous.
I can't remember either.
And
there was some reason, but
they realized after the fact that he was like the one person who didn't have dark vision, so maybe that was dumb. But Polmanek can cast light and bind it to him, so that's fine. So now he's like a glowing
cloud of
gas.
Yeah.
So he goes down into the drain holes, and they all gather into one drain, and he follows that drain, and it goes on and on and on. And finally, it comes out into an underground river. And so he's like, oh, sweet, this is, I don't know what, maybe at the very least a back door. So he starts following the underground river out, but before he can like get out of the underground river, it becomes clear he only has an hour of gaseous form, and he's now spent half an hour or whatever, so he has to go back. And so he heads back, and they're all like, we found this other way in. And then I'm like, okay, so now you got to make a perception check to find the tiny pipe hole that leads into this underground river that is like pitch black. And No,
Mark
doesn't make it. So he
Nope.
searches around for another 10 minutes. Doesn't make it. Still, like there's no chance of him getting back now, but he's still searching for this. And finally, it's like, hey, well, I can't find it. So he turns back to normal and then takes a rapid ride down the underground river. Gets kind of bashed up, but eventually the underground river comes out on a hillside, and he's beaten up and has the exhausted status effect and is not in good shape. It's freezing cold, and he climbs up on the hill and looks around, is able to get his bearings, and figures out where he is from the Tomb of Horrors. And he's only like a 15-minute walk or whatever away from the Tomb of Horrors. So they have found a back door into the Tomb of Horrors if they can find the tiny little drain hole.
Yeah, it's a gaseous form there into the worst room ever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
the stupid fish room guarded by 4 iron golems bobbing on the ceiling like balloons.
And so he heads back and basically makes his way through the Tomb of Horrors back to, and he gets to the adamantine doors into the pillared room and realizes that you need 3 people to open that, and he's stuck there.
Yeah.
And at that point I was like, okay, well, we also have to figure out what the other people did in the hour, because it took him an hour or 2 to get there, right?
Yeah.
In the hour or 2 between when he should have returned and by the time he gets there, what do they do?
Yeah.
And it was getting late, so we decided that's a perfect place to end. So that's where we've left it.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be a weird session starting next time because, by my map, we have exhausted every known door.
You haven't bashed every known wall with it.
We haven't methodically bashed every known wall in the entire place. So, But clearly there's some kind of secret that we've missed. John was trying to but you found the real tomb there.
Right.
Or no.
Yeah, you found the real tomb. There's nothing else to find.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
No,
But, they do know that there is the room with the skull, right?
Yeah. We clairvoyanced that a while back, so we know there's at least one room.
It exists.
Found.
Yeah, and there's a couple things. There is one place they actually haven't searched for secret doors, but they just don't necessarily remember it. And there's also the fact that they mentioned this earlier, but they weren't talking about it later, which was they have that 10-foot pole that's in the skull room.
Yes.
And they can use locate object on it, and locate object points you in a direction, and it lasts for like 5 minutes or something. So you can kind of use that to find your way towards something.
Yeah.
So I assume that they'll remember that next time.
That, right? Like they could go to known places.
Yeah.
You can do even better than triangulate. You can triangulate, but since it's like continuous, you can do even better. Like you can just basically walk towards it and wait. It's like a compass almost, right?
Yeah. Find a long hallway
because the dungeon is so weird.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you're right. When you're far away, once you get close, you can start just basically using it like a compass, and you're like, okay, well, it's clearly got to be somewhere, behind this wall or through this room or something, right?
There's a couple of fairly long corridors, so probably what you do is go to the end of one of those, cast it, and then go down that corridor as long for the 5 minutes. And that'll get you a reasonably good, it's probably X number of meters that way.
Right, yeah.
And then, So, we can do that. Yeah, I'm just sort of re-looking at my map to try and... John said there's one room that we haven't done a thorough search.
I'm pretty sure there's lots of walls that you haven't smashed with the...
Well, but there are some things they haven't even searched, but that's I don't know. I'll let them. I think the triangulation approach is probably going to yield them the best fruits anyway. So that's I'm guessing that's how they're going to start off next time. But
I don't remember what rooms they haven't.
It's been painful though, because normally as a GM I would try to drop some hints so they would but I'm trying to be like. I'm not giving them any hints.
Yeah,
they just if they miss something. Yeah.
Well, it sure seems like we've fallen into literally every pit trap that there is in this entire dungeon.
It has been pretty good. I couldn't believe it when you guys went back to the stone juggernaut that you completely avoided, and then still the characters got crushed by it. I feel like also the fact that everything is kind of random and doesn't make sense has caused them to basically make the worst decision in every possible case.
Right. Let's try this random. No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like last time it worked this way, so surely it will work differently this time. Nope, actually it works the same. All right, well, the third time it'll surely be different this time. It's it's different. As whatever. Stupid as server wreck. Yeah. Anyway, so I guess next time we'll either we will find and face that Demi-Lich, or we'll have the most incredibly boring tale telling ever because it'll just be us methodically hammering walls to no avail, smashing all the things, which I guess will be satisfying in a way.
I found the Tomb of Horrors cartoon that I remembered existing.
Mm.
That's quite amusing. I'll have to post it after we're done.
Yeah. But which will probably be, well, presumably next session, unless there's a lot more.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Great.
that's it.